Hi, welcome to part two. Okay, so Janeway just gets the rift open and gets attacked by the Klingons. She hails the Rhode Island and tells Harry to get his ass back there because she's getting shot to shit. So, Harry and the Rhode Island hold them off long enough for her to go through the rift. When she gets through, she hails Voyager and tells them to recalibrate the deflector so she can close the rift. So the Klingons won't come through. After it's done, we find out that the Borg Queen are monitoring them. We jump to next scene where Admiral Janeway beams aboard. Next comes this long, drawn out scene between Admiral Janeway, Captain Janeway in the ready room about coffee, about Voyager getting back to the Delta Quadrant, and becoming a museum in San Francisco where they can see Alcatraz from the ready room window. Whatever. Now, if you think about it, okay, this is Voyager, right? I know it's hard to see, but here, the biggest window in the front, that's the mess hall. One deck above it, the bridge. So right off to this side is Captain's ready room. Unless it was basically sitting in the ocean, it would be way above sea level, meaning way above Alcatraz. Like I said, unless it was in the ocean, it would be a lot higher than Alcatraz. Hell, it'd be higher in San Francisco, most of the buildings. Whatever. So, they go to sick bay, confirm her identity, and find out that she has a neurological computer chip in her brain to help her pilot a shuttle with a neurogenic interface. Basically, like what Tom did when he bought that shuttle that pretty much drove him crazy. You know, Alice. Yeah, Admiral Janeway has one of those. Nice. Maybe it explains why she went back in time to get Voyager home early, violate the Temporal Prime Directive, and all that BS. So after they figure out that it's her, they start installing the upgrades, the armor, the transphasic torpedoes. And I like the fact that these transphasic torpedoes were kind of like the Krenums, you know, torpedoes because they were out of phase with normal space time. That's cool that they kind of referenced a little bit a previous episode. That's rarely done on Voyager. It's like every episode is its own thing and nothing ever changes. So, after they get the upgrades online, they head into the nebula and find out that it's a transwarp hub. There's basically a battle of who's in command of the bridge. Admiral Janeway orders Paris to go into the hub. Captain Janeway orders him to take them out of the nebula. Well, after a lot of pussyfooting around what that thing was, Paris takes him out of the nebula. We find out that there's only 6 transwarp hubs in the galaxy. So they have a scene in Astrometrics where they try to figure out how to destroy it. One thing leads to another. Janeway finds out about Tuvok's condition. But they do find a way to destroy it. Next is my favorite scene and my favorite speech that Harry has ever made, or anyone on that ship. When Janeway goes back to where she first trapped them in the Delta Quadrant with the Caretaker's array and blah blah blah, whatever. Since the crew is loyal to her, they decide to go with her plan instead of going home. So, okay. So they go through with it. But the story kind of splits up a little bit. So we don't exactly know what's going on, which was good. Um, Admiral Janeway, Captain Janeway have another nostalgic scene in the mess hall where Admiral Janeway, revives her old habits with coffee but they come up with a plan which they don't explain right away, which was very smart. We see Admiral Janeway in her shuttle and Captain Janeway injecting her with something in a hypo spray. Next thing we see is Admiral Janeway's shuttle entering one of the hubs. Okay. She ends up at the Borg Unicomplex. After this little holographic battle with the Queen, they discover her. And this is where we finally start to realize what their plan is. When the Queen assimilates Janeway, she gets infected with a neurolytic pathogen, just enough to disrupt her control over the um, the collective. So then we see Voyager entering the hub. We also see that that Admiral Janeway pretty much was baiting the Queen into assimilating her, trying to piss her off. So the Queen just has just enough control to send a sphere to attack Voyager. Okay. Then they withstand the attack for quite a while, but when their aft armor goes down, they I think it was Janeway who asked, "Where's the nearest aperture?" And Seven answers 30 seconds ahead, but it goes back to the Delta Quadrant. Well, the captain says, "Mr. Paris, prepare to adjust your heading." And at that point, we assume that they're gonna go back to the Delta Quadrant. But what was completely ingenious about this story was they kind of inside the conduit, the Borg sphere right behind them. When the sphere opened up their hatch to draw the ship in, they let themselves be brought into the sphere, and once they emerge in the Alpha Quadrant, the Federation fleet is waiting. They fire a couple of transphasic torpedoes, destroy the sphere from inside, and fly through the fucking explosion into the Starfleet Armada less than a light year from Earth. Even Captain Janeway was stunned that they actually did it. They hail, or Starfleet hails them. It's of course Admiral Paris and Lieutenant Broccoli. So when everybody can't believe this happened, the doctor calls Tom on the bridge. We hear a baby crying. Essentially, he leaves the helm and goes down to sick bay to see Morale. Chakotay takes the helm, and just as in the last line in the pilot, Captain Janeway says,